This is Hemant.
And Jessica.
And you're listening to the Friendly Atheist Podcast. Please go to patreon.com/Friendly Atheist Podcast to support this show. Get your ad-free and bonus episodes.
Gang,
in a couple
see
weeks.
This giant box on the video? This is all full of your envelopes.
Jess is ready to send stickers to 1 million people.
I just spent $300 on stamps.
So Patreon.
Yeah. It's my own.
In a couple of weeks, we will do our end of the year episode, year in review. But until then, we have a lot of things to cover. And the first thing I got to cover is a big update on a story you're going to love.
Oh, great.
I'm starting with a happy story.
Oh, I love this.
Okay, so you may recall that back in the day in Oklahoma, there you go. There's your opening. Thank you. Ryan Walters used to be the superintendent of public instruction. Yes. And one of the things he did is he said, we're rewriting the social studies curriculum that all students get to be taught in public schools. We're rewriting it to make it more Christian nationalist, more right-wing conspiracy theories.
They do like a control... like F find replace of slavery to workers.
Right. So specifically, the standards that he proposed, they were actually passed last December, and people had seen them online. You have to post them, legally speaking. You have to post them for the public. They saw it. They weighed in, and they're like, the hell is this? And the things they had a problem with, specifically... Those standards required teachers to tell kids the 2020 election had major discrepancies. It did not. That COVID originated in a Chinese lab. That's not what the proof has ever pointed to.
No.
Students would not be required to learn about George Floyd's death or Black Lives Matter.
Who's that?
And the standards claimed the Bible was like a foundational document and it treated religious mythology as fact. So those were the standards they passed they proposed in December, but the Board of Education still had to vote on it.
Right.
And when Ryan Walters released those standards, which were put together by right-wing crazy people.
Didn't he change them again?
Oh, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
But when he published the original version 1.0, he bragged about how these standards, quote, mention the Bible and its historical impact over 40 times. And I won't go over every single detail, but it very much included
is he measuring by
Bible
that's
stuff.
A bragging point.
Yeah. By the way, those standards ask students to summarize the political impact of President Clinton's impeachment, which is something students should have to do in a U.S. history class. But it made no mention of Donald Trump's 2 impeachments.
Yeah.
This is where it goes for a while. Who wrote these standards? Well, you had a co-founder of PragerU, which is the fake right-wing not university. It had a representative from the right-wing American Enterprise Institute, the Heritage Foundation, which is the Project 2025 people. Only
we're almost over with Project 2025. What are they going to do in 2026?
Everything off of it. Only 3 of the people on that committee ever lived in Oklahoma. There were no public school teachers or administrators on the list. But the thing is, like I said, they had to post these online because the law requires it. But the Board of Education had not yet voted on it.
Okay.
So what happened in Oklahoma? The governor of the state, Kevin Stitt, who's also a Republican, he doesn't like Ryan Walters at all.
Weird.
And he created the monster, and now the monster is insane. But he appointed new members to the State Board of Education, maybe to rein in some of what Walters was doing. But these are not great people either.
This is a little closing the barn door after the horse escaped.
So in February, the State Board of Education has to vote on these standards, and they are ready to talk about it. But at the last second, Ryan Walters, less than a day before, is all right, guys, here's the new standards, the revised standards you're going to vote on tomorrow. By the way, I've made some changes. Don't worry about it. He did not post those online. He did not give these board members a chance to really read and figure out what did you change, because we have thoughts about the version you posted in December.
That was bad enough.
Right. And things that he had added in there, the revised version said the COVID originated in the Chinese lab, etc. It falsely claimed there were security risks with mail-in ballots. There were sudden batch dumps in the 2020 election. The initial version had a section on the challenges and accomplishments of the Biden presidency, which is always fair. The revised version only focused on the challenges.
I don't think
this
my
goes on for a
U.S.
while.
history class got past the Cold War. I didn't realize we do so much contemporaneous
This is why you
stuff.
revise social studies curricula, basically saying they did this in 2019.
Because they needed to put September 11th in there,
A lot
probably.
of big things have happened, obviously, in the last several years that would not have been covered in a history class, but that if you're teaching U.S. history now or any basic history class to even elementary school students, well, you have to talk about what's happening today so they have an idea of what's happening. And this is the stuff they were really intent on revising, which is fine. But they're also revising, like you said, the Control F slavery stuff. They're going back in time to say, you know what, we don't need to teach this stuff. So we talked about if they approved these standards, think about how hard it would be to find textbooks, because textbook companies would have to sully their own reputation.
I forgot the capitalism is the lifesaver here.
Right? So even textbook companies may not want to get on board with this because they want to sell books across the country.
Yeah, they want to sell books on the order of millions, not tens of thousands.
Yeah. And the easiest way to block these standards from going into effect would have been for the Oh, by the way, so the Board of Education was like, well, you've given us no time to look at this. And it's weird that you're telling us you revised these standards even after they were available to the public. But I guess we'll go along with it because we're Republicans.
Sure.
So
what are we going to do? Stand up for our beliefs?
The easiest way to block those standards from going into effect would have been for the state legislature to say, all right, we have the power to override what you just did. But instead of taking a vote on that, the Republican leader said, we're not going to take a vote on this.
Oh.
So by default, those new standards went into effect. Ryan Walters got his wish.
They're so brave over there.
So after all this, there was a lawsuit filed by Americans United for Separation of Church and State and a group called the Oklahoma Appleseed Center for Law and Justice. And they basically said, we represent a bunch of parents.
Did I hear the word Appleseed?
You did.
Oh,
They represented a bunch of parents who said if these standards go into effect, it violates our religious freedom. You are using tax dollars to promote religion and inaccuracies. And specifically, when they went after this, what they said is not just, this offends us, which good luck getting that anywhere.
Right.
What they said is, the standards that the Board of Education voted on, they were never released to the public in advance, which is true, because Ryan Walters modified them without telling people. Also, by voting on standards without knowing their content, the Board of Education violated a law saying it has authority over academic standards. They're ceding their authority to Ryan Walters' word.
That's the thing that I'm really kind of baffled by when it comes to these people who are obviously power hungry. They obviously are like trying to like get their hands in the government. And then the one moment where they can like flex their power, they're like, oh, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think that's the right thing to do.
The lawsuit also said you're forcing teachers to spread lies, which violates a state law saying information you teach kids has to be accurate.
So I feel like there's a First Amendment case somewhere in there that you can't make a teacher say a false thing.
They said you're spreading Christian propaganda to kids, which violates an age-appropriate law, like what you teach has to be age-appropriate. And also by promoting Christianity, you're violating the Constitution.
Wait, can you tell me about the age-appropriate thing, or do you have any more information on that?
You have to teach age-appropriate material, which is why sex education can get iffy at times, but also the way you're spreading Christian propaganda to kids before they're old enough to think for themselves, you can't do that. So take your pick. All of these things violate the law, invalidate the new standards because you're violating these laws.
Do we have any idea whose other sticky little fingers got on this bill before?
Name a Republican, it's everybody, but it's Ryan Walters. This was his doing.
Right, but I'm just curious about that sort of like midnight switch that they did.
Yeah.
And like,
who was part of that?
Yeah.
That was Ryan Walters as far as we know.
Just by himself?
Yep, by himself.
Just the way I was last night trying to set up a new mic system at like 2 a.m, just like frantically trying to make things work. And then I ended up with this.
Yes.
No worries there.
Yes. So they also in their lawsuit.
You think it was just him?
Yeah. They also quoted they quoted Ryan Walters is basically talking in podcasts and stuff about how he's working to bring religion back into public schools. Like they're hoisting these dudes with their own words.
I know you're on a conservative podcast, but like I can hear conservative podcasts. It's not like they're the only people who can hear it.
Right. So, and by the way, kudos to Americans United and the Appleseed people, because the plaintiffs they got were not just atheists who were trying to settle the score. The lead plaintiff was Reverend Dr. Mitch Randall, a Baptist minister.
Fuck yeah, Reverend Doctor.
And one of the things he said, as a member of the Muskogee Creek Nation, I am especially bothered by my tax dollars supporting state-mandated religious instruction. It is a painful reminder of the forced religious proselytization my family members experienced in Native American boarding schools in Oklahoma.
Yup.
That's what the minister says.
Damn.
So anyway, that's the lawsuit that was basically the last-ditch effort to stop this from going into effect. They filed it over the summer. They're like, these standards are going to go into effect when the school year starts. Hey, court, step in now. And in September, we talked about this. This is the last time we talked about it. The Oklahoma Supreme Court voted 5-2 and said, we're taking this up right now because we don't have time for this to go through the normal lower court thing. School year's starting. We're voting 5-2 to temporarily block the new standards from going into effect. So for now, everyone just use the 2019 standards. And if you want to teach kids about what's happened since then, let that be a local school district thing. You figure out what to do.
That makes sense.
Which is what they always do with this stuff.
Right.
And that's kind of the big takeaway there.
And isn't there also an element that you need to give teachers a certain amount of freedom to teach in their own way?
What the standards do is they say this is the bare minimum you have to tell students.
Oh, I see.
And that's why this is a big deal. If it's in the standards, you can't ignore it. And that's what Ryan Walters was trying to use to his advantage, saying, I'm going to make you teach this stuff. And then, if some teachers want to add caveats to that on their own, they, I guess,
put some fun posters up on the wall.
Available. They have the ability to do that, but whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
By the way, in addition to temporarily blocking the new standards from going into effect, the Supreme Court also said, while this is temporarily blocked, no public funds can be spent implementing this new curriculum, which was important because state lawmakers had already allocated $33 million toward creating tests and trainings and purchasing textbooks that align with the new standards. So the court said, don't spend that money yet. You can't do it. And this Oklahoma Supreme Court said, we're the ones who are going to rule on this. We're not waiting for the litigation to play out. Okay, that's where we were as of September. On Tuesday night this week, late last night. Last night, the Supreme Court finally issued their ruling.
Working on the sound equipment?
Right. They ruled in, and basically what they said, it was a 5-4 decision with 2 recusals. But basically,
it's 11 justices?
It's complicated. There's like 2 dudes they pulled up from another court. I'm not sure how that works. But the bottom line is the Oklahoma Supreme Court issued a permanent decision, not just a temporary block. They're saying, no, we're blocking this from going into effect for real this time. And what they said is when Walters shoved these 2025 standards through, he did violate the state's Open Meeting Act because the Board of Education was not given an advance copy of this more than 24 hours before they had to vote on it. That violates the law. The public was not shown the revised standards for like a month, which is what the law required them to do with standards. And as a result, the court said the 2025 standards are not enforceable and the applicable 2019 standards remain in force. So that is great news. By the way, of the dissenting judges, like 2 or 3 of them, for various different legal reasons, said, we're not even ruling on the merits of this. We just think this should have gone through the lower courts before it got to us, which is fine. We didn't have time for that shit.
Yeah.
But okay.
It's punching on a little bit.
But even they're not saying we're ruling against this on the merits.
Right.
So that's the good news. By the way, the guy who replaced Ryan Walters, his name is Lyndall Fields. He's a Republican, but as far as I can tell, he's been fine in this job so far.
Lyndall Fields?
Yeah.
Whew.
He said...
Oklahoma boy.
He's not arguing any of this. Like, his name is now on this lawsuit. Like, the plaintiffs...
because Ryan Walters is gone.
We're suing the superintendent of public instruction.
Not Ryan Walters
Ryan
personally.
Walters is out now because he resigned. And the guy who took his place is now on the other side of this. It's not like he's arguing against any of this. He's basically said, yeah, well, we plan to review the social studies standards anyway. We're going to do it the right way with public input and expert guidance. This is what his office said in response to the decision. It's very bland, but in accordance with the court's decision, the 2019 standards will remain in effect until new standards are properly adopted by the State Board of Education and approved by the legislature. We are committed to transparency and adherence to the Open Meeting Act as we begin the work of developing new standards.
All right.
Which is boring and totally fine.
Because that's what I want from a politician. I don't want any like flavor. I don't need spice on your press releases. Just
tell me
facts,
you're doing
ma'am.
the damn job.
Yeah.
Walters, for what it's worth, has not weighed in yet, even though this is undoing one of his key things that he was trying to do.
Because nobody asked him, because who gives a shit?
Yeah. Actually, I did go check, and the last thing he had posted as of last night was he's the CEO of an anti-union group called the Teacher Freedom Alliance.
Yeah, he was on that email chain of that Oklahoma terrible essay thing, right? Wasn't he?
Yeah. He retweeted something posted by that organization, which in a sense means he's retweeting himself from a different account. But it was a letter that the Teacher Freedom Alliance sent out to teachers, and I'm quoting, saying Merry Christmas is not radical.
Also, there's already a TFA. It's Teach for America. You can't just... I know there's a finite number of like 3-letter combinations, but there's already a teacher one.
So that's the good news. His attempt to erase references to like the existence of systemic racism, his attempt to spread right-wing lies, his attempt to elevate the Bible to a founding document, all of that's been erased.
Could you reread that quote about Christmas again? Because I just want to.
He said in his letter that he is retweeting last night, because this is the most important thing happening in Oklahoma education right now. Yep. Saying Merry Christmas is not radical. It's okay. You can do it.
These people are so brave.
Yeah.
You know what? I just
Oklahoma Supreme Court has once again stepped in to save voters from their own stupid decisions.
I have a memory of, boy, you guys are about to learn some really embarrassing shit about me. When I went to college at Ball State University, and I was a dance minor. You can see my jazz hands that I paid thousands of dollars to develop. And I took, here we go, a clogging class because dance is important.
Judging you so hard right now.
Honestly, it's amazing. Appalachian clogging fucking rules. It's great. But I remember it was like the end of the semester, and my teacher, who was this maybe 60-year-old little like elf of a man, and he walks in, he's like, I don't care what anybody says. Merry Christmas. And I was like 20, and I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? Like,
should have been your first warning sign after all the other ones.
It was truly one of my first, like, this would have been 2006 or so. Like, it was like my first intro to like somebody who's yelling at me about something they're not allowed to say. And I was like, I don't think I understand what's going on right now. Also, sir, you're a dance teacher at Ball State University. Like, let's not get on your high horse too much about it. Anyway, that's my story about clog dancing and
Lovely.
God.
Let's talk. I got one more update for you, and this involves a disturbing story we talked about not that long ago. But this was a story at Truett McConnell University, which is a Baptist college in Georgia. And the story here that we talked about before is that there was a student, Haley Swinson, who went to that school because she got a soccer scholarship. And she didn't care it was a Christian school. She's just like, they're giving me money to play soccer. Cool. She went there, and guess what? Within a year, she found God, which is exactly what the school wanted anyway. And while this was happening, this is around 2008, a guy named Bradley Reynolds had been hired by the new leader of the school to be their vice president. So Bradley Reynolds also became part of that administration around the time Haley was there. And nothing about that was all that weird. Bradley Reynolds and his wife would invite students, including the soccer team, to come to their home on campus for like dinner and Bible study, which is a thing that happens at those schools.
Sounds like a really cool, fun way to spend a Saturday night, is studying the Bible with your soccer coach.
There are party schools, and then there are this place. And then he became like a personal Bible mentor of sorts to Haley Swinson. They would hold study sessions in his basement.
Really pick a young athletic woman to truly teach the Bible to.
Right. And when we talked about this a couple months ago, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution published this damning story about what this guy did to her. I won't go over all those details, but they were basing their story off of hundreds of emails he had sent her from his school email, tons of text messages, taped interviews he did with law enforcement. But basically, he sexually assaulted her, she said, during these Bible studies. This was not when she was a student, but after she was a student, she was like, what do I do now that I graduated from college? She ended up back at the school where they created a job for her to be like a life coach and help out with the soccer team and stuff.
Sure.
She's like, hey, if you're paying me, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah.
But that's when he took advantage of her. After that, he said things to her like, my wife's going to die soon, so God has told me we can totally have sex.
God told
him that.
God said your current wife is going to die soon, therefore have sex with a co-ed?
Correct.
God's weird. He's
God
a weird sense of humor.
Remember he sent her an email in 2015 where he talked about a dream he had? Oh. It was a wet dream, and he emailed her all about it. I read it live.
No, you didn't.
I did, and you made that same face back at the time.
I hate this. Really quick, Mikey and my husband and I just had this conversation. When they talk about like, oh, they found this in his email and that and the other, I assume every word I type into the internet, whether it is a text message, an email, a post,
right. Your Google searches, they're all going to be made public.
Assuming that is going to be found. Like I just have no sense that like
you have privacy about anything.
Right. And so it really blows my mind because like, let alone like hacking and shit like that. Like it's easy to get into somebody's email. It's easy to, I just don't understand why people, maybe it's an older person thing of like, have an expectation of like...
For this guy to use a school email,
yes.
like, I'm going to say some disturbing stuff. Who's ever going to see this besides you, even though it's a school email address?
I mean, listen, I worked at a company where people got fired for talking shit on GChat on company property. So like, I think that was probably the point that I was like, oh, do not assume anything is private.
So he sends all this stuff out for years, and it's not until like 2018 that Swinson finally moves away from the area, gets a job somewhere else.
Swinson's the victim?
Yeah. And basically the question at that point, because now she's meeting with a therapist and she talks about this stuff and it's disturbing. And thankfully that therapist is like a mandated reporter. It wasn't until 2024, though, that she openly talked to law enforcement about what that man had done to her.
Wow.
But there were a couple issues. Can they do anything about it? Has statute of limitations expired? Also, did anyone at the school know this was going on while it was happening? And the answer to the statute of limitations thing is, yeah, it's probably expired. There's probably not much we can do.
That's really cool of you, law.
And part of the reason is they were both adults when this happened, albeit with a power imbalance. She didn't outwardly, she had testified to this to the cops, not testified. She said this to the cops, like, no, I didn't outwardly resist what he did because I kind of froze up. Which is a thing that happens.
That's not what consent is.
No,
not saying no isn't
for
consent.
The police, they're like, that makes it harder for us to make a case against this. Now, there was some evidence because they brought Bradley Reynolds in for questioning that like, did he lie to us when he said certain things to us about what he did or did not do? But at the time, the sheriff's office decided not to do anything. They just didn't think there was enough evidence to get this guy on anything. They're like, if this happened 10 years ago, 15 years ago, actually, what was it? 2024? If it happened in like 2015 and around that time, it may be too late to do anything. But now that Haley Swinson knew, cops aren't going to be able to do anything about this. They're not prosecuting this guy.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm going to go forward with my story and make it public, which is why we know about any of this. And so this is what we talked about last time we discussed this story. And at the time, in May, when she told her story publicly, the school basically stood by everything. They said there was no complaints filed about this dude. Had we known about this, of course we would have fired this guy, but no one told us anything was happening. But at the same time, the school has had staff meetings, and the staffers are like, how did you fuck this up so badly?
To the administration?
To the admin. Some professors said, why did we learn about all these accusations through the media and not from any of you? Graduates were protesting. The school's president, the guy who hired Bradley Reynolds, was placed on leave. Wow. And by the way, the sheriff's office has now gotten a new district attorney who said, I'm going to reopen the investigation and see if I want to pursue anything. And the Atlanta Journal-Constitution where's Bradley Reynolds in all this? He decided to like leave the school years ago, and they found him at a sandwich shop in Texas. They called up the sandwich shop, and they're like, hey, any comment on what's happening lately?
Like he works at the sandwich shop?
I don't know what he does there. Maybe he's the manager. Maybe he's just working there. But the man who answered the phone, they said, responded, no comment, thanks, hangs up.
Do we know
That's literally all we know about this guy.
Is it a chain? Is it Jimmy John's? Is it Firehouse Subs? Is it Jersey Mike's?
But the new local district attorney, his name is Jeff Langley. What happened now is that guy said, I'm going to go after this guy, not because of the assaults, because statute of limitations, but I think there's evidence he did lie to the cops when he was brought in for questioning a couple of years ago.
Is that illegal to lie to cops?
Very much. If you're lying to cops during like, I don't know what the formal name for it is, but basically there was an argument that, did you have a sexual relationship with this student?
Oh, I see.
He said, no, I didn't. Well, that's the lie detector determined you were a lie. Also, they said, there's an email account that Haley Swinson says you sent a lot of emails from, but it's not the school's account. It's like a different account.
Wow, he's got a dummy account.
Yes, is that your account? He said, that's not my account. Turns out that is his account. And also, they asked him, did you tell Haley that your wife is going to die and that you were going to make her your second wife? And that's why God has basically given you the okay.
And he's like, no, that would be an insane thing for me to say.
That is correct. And they're like, well, when the cops question you about all this stuff, you lied about all of this, and I think there's enough evidence to prove that you lied to the cops about all of this. So I'm going to open up an investigation into that and try to nail you on that. And the the update to this story is that he just got an indictment by a grand jury to go after Reynolds for those three things.
So
for lying to the cops.
Lying to the cops?
About, did you have a sexual relationship with her? He said, no, that's a lie. Did you use that dummy account? He said, no, that's a lie.
Did you say your wife
deny saying that thing about your wife gonna die? He said, no, that was a lie. Now, lying to the cops.
Imagine finding out your husband said to a co-ed, like, hey, my wife is about to kick the bucket. Do you want to line up? Like discounts if you're an early adopter. Be first in line.
That is literally what he said to the grand jury. Each of those charges, by the way, lying to the cops, could result in a jail sentence of 1 to 5 years with a $100,000 fine.
Ooh,
now,
that's a lot of sandwiches.
All this means is this now gets to go in front of a court, and this guy has to like go to that judge and make a plea. Guilty or not guilty. But that also means he now has 2 weeks to leave the sandwich shop in Texas and return to Georgia so he could be arrested. And if he doesn't do that, life is only going to get worse.
Oh, because it becomes a federal thing?
I mean, now you're avoiding arrest for this.
Oh, I've never thought about that. So at this point, does he have to... This is such a stupid question. He has to
turn himself in.
He has to get himself back to Georgia?
Yep. Don't care how you do it, but you have 2 weeks before we come after you.
Could he go to a local cop station and get like a transfer?
Nope. This is not a Texas cannot protect him from this, I don't believe.
No. Like get the cops to give him a ride so he doesn't have to like buy a flight.
Nope.
Oh, God.
I think he has to get within state lines or something.
Imagine sitting in a cop car for like 6 hours with a cop and just like having to talk and listen to his garbage music.
I got my phone. I'm good. So in response to the indictments, Haley Swinson's lawyer just said this. Miss Swinson is grateful the district attorney examined the case and presented it to the grand jury. The rest is up to the justice system. So good update. Maybe there's some sort of accountability.
And you said this was a new DA in Georgia? That's what kicked this off?
Yep. New district attorney said, the last guy said, I don't have enough to go off of, so I'm not going to pursue anything. But I think he lied to the cops, and that is something we can go after. And I think I have enough proof that he lied to the cops, and I think I can convince a grand jury that we can go after this guy. Give me permission to go after this guy.
So it doesn't sound like this is the case of like the former DA just not wanting to deal with this. It seems like they genuinely did not have enough to charge him.
That's what my takeaway was.
A new attorney general came in and was like, ooh.
Maybe the new district attorney says, I got to make my mark somewhere, and I think there's enough here that I can do something with it.
Well, and if you get this right, it's a slam dunk, a predatory teacher.
Right?
Yeah.
There's no downside to pursuing this case. Now, the question is, okay, hey, Truett McConnell University, what are you going to do now? Because now you can't just say, we didn't know anything was happening. Like, the staff is mad. Alums are mad. There is an anonymous letter going around, signed, like an online petition, signed by over 600 graduates and 2,700 others. And they are demanding the school do better.
Truett McConnell sounds like a kid who would have bullied me in junior high.
Yes. For what it's worth, in case you're wondering, it's named after a guy named George Washington Truett, who is a pastor and a former Southern Baptist Convention president who hated immigrants and said,
like Jesus.
He hated immigrants, quote, with their strange customs and beliefs and ideals and sentimentalisms.
Sentimentalism.
He's also super racist.
No.
And he claimed Catholic immigrants were bad because they wanted to create a Pope-centered theocracy in America.
Boy, oh boy.
That's who they named the school after.
I mean, truly, like, it's so funny to me when Catholics are, like, super racist, because it's like, dude, like, 30 years ago, people hated you. Like, when Kennedy... I will never tire of saying when Kennedy was running for president, they were like, oh, what's he going to listen to, the Pope or Congress? Like, we don't... How could we know? This is an impossible task for us.
It would be horrible to have a religious zealot in the White House, said Republicans back when they were fighting Democrats.
The KKK started, I believe, or at least their early iterations were anti-Catholic. Like, it just, obviously this all goes part and parcel of, like, not teaching history anymore, but that's what makes me, like, it makes me laugh so hard that these people think that they're the first people to be anti-immigrant. They're like, oh, no, this wave of immigrants is the problem.
The Pledge of Allegiance was written by I've heard a lot of atheists say, it was written by a progressive Baptist minister himself.
Is that true?
That is true, but also that dude was super anti-immigrant as well. That's why he wanted immigrants coming from other countries to pledge allegiance to our flag, not your homeland flag, damn it.
I scroll through Reddit a bunch, and I think there's, like, I follow the ones that are like, ask a historian or ask Reddit or ask whatever. And I feel like once a week I see somebody from Not America be like, you guys don't really say the Pledge of Allegiance every day, right? That's because that's a weird thing to do, right? And everyone's like, correct? Yes, we do. And yes, it's weird.
Yeah.
Like, truly, if we found it in North Korea, every student every morning had to make an oath to the flag, we would use that.
Or Kim Jong-un or whatever you say. That's brainwashing.
That's brainwashing.
Yeah, it is.
But also, here's the upside of doing the Pledge of Allegiance every day. I know my right from my left because I know which hand goes on my heart.
The only good thing about it.
I don't have to do the L's like all my friends had to do.
So I have an actual good news story for you now.
Okay.
Check this out. There is the United States government has a commission on international religious freedom, which in theory is like the U.S. government believes promoting democracy abroad is a good value.
Okay.
And one of the ways we do that is fighting for religious freedom across the world. And that, I mean, in theory, that sounds like a wonderful idea. For what it's worth, this commission, it is bipartisan. Both parties get to appoint members to the USCIRF board. That means you will get some wonderful advocates for religious freedom and then like right-wing zealots.
Sure.
Because Republicans get to appoint members too. But like among other things, what does this group actually do? They issue an annual report naming certain countries of particular concern because of their opposition to religious freedom. They're also suggesting, hey, State Department, watch out for these countries. They're on the brink of oppression. So when you are talking to those countries, when you're negotiating with them, this is what you ought to be fighting for, like religious freedom. And if they're not going to have religious freedom, we should keep that in mind when we are negotiating and dealing with them. That's what this commission does. Is it symbolic? In a way.
Yeah.
But also they very much do have the ear of the State Department leaders, and that's why this matters. It's your mileage may vary on how influential you think this committee is, But that's the idea. It's a way to spread the goal of religious freedom around the world.
Right.
And I like that. Even
Which
if
we agree
they don't
with.
have a ton of power, like
Right.
that's a good thing. So historically, when I talk about the USCIRF, like for example, do they condemn anti-Semitism? Yeah, which is a thing everyone on paper loves to condemn. Very few actually follow through with it.
Correct.
But they also condemn anti-Muslim bias. And that's awesome. You should condemn that. Even last year, this group recommended that the United States sign on to a statement condemning persecution of atheist and non-practicing individuals. And because of that recommendation, the U.S. government did that. We signed on to that document. Nice. Again, does any of this matter? Like, is it a treaty? Is it a law? No, but it's a symbolic thing that says this is what we stand for.
Sure.
And if like the U.S. has any power, this is how you use that might. Okay, so that's important. The problem with the USCIRF is because it's bipartisan, who gets to appoint people to that commission? Well, it's the president gets to appoint a handful of people to it, whoever the president is. The president gets to appoint some members. His party's leaders in the House and Senate get to appoint some members, but also the minority party's leaders in the House and Senate get to appoint members.
Okay.
So the president's party and whoever has the majority, like they always have an edge.
Sure.
But in general, it's bipartisan. Now, I was mad in 2018 because Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader, I believe, at the time, he nominated Tony Perkins of the Family Research Council. Tony Perkins is a hate group leader, is a Christian hate group leader. He's such a monster. And by the way, when he was nominated, a bunch of groups spoke out against it. This is what the president of GLAAD, said at the time. Tony Perkins is the most recognizable anti-LGBTQ activist in America. He has espoused the most extreme views of LGBTQ people and other vulnerable communities. The idea that Perkins would be making policy recommendations to an administration that is already anti-LGBTQ is dangerous and puts LGBTQ people directly in harm's way.
Nice work.
Okay. But he was nominated by Mitch McConnell, and there's no vote on this. He just gets on there.
And Mitch McConnell was alive at this point?
He was still alive at the time, and surprisingly
still
is.
Too bad.
Perkins, because everyone on this board, they just hey, we elect one of our own to be the leader for a year. He was elected chair of the organization a year later. Do you remember
happening?
That was criticized by plenty of the same people who actually fight for religious freedom, saying this guy shouldn't be on the commission, much less leading it.
Yeah.
Okay.
How did he end up
Here's
leader?
the thing. How did he what?
End up as leader?
Just when you're on the group, they kind of rotate around with who's the chair of the organization.
Oh, I hate that.
But whatever, they vote on it. Doesn't matter that much. It's not like they get outsized say. It just means they might be quoted in a press release more often. But here's the weird thing. I follow the USCIRF occasionally. What are they up to? What are they saying? As far as I can tell, Perkins' bigotry that I see him espouse all the time with the Family Research Council, it never seemed to interfere with that group's mission. As far as I can tell, there's no evidence of that. For example, that same year he was the chair of the organization, the USCIRF called for the immediate release of a Saudi blogger, Raif Badawi, who was imprisoned for alleged apostasy.
Wow.
The USCIRF said, release that man. That's not how religious freedom should work.
And when they speak, are they speaking on behalf of the country? Essentially, release this man or else?
They're speaking on behalf of the organization they're a part of, the USCIRF, but that is the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom. I will say, Perkins' name didn't appear in that press release, but this is the group he is now chairing. They signed off on that. He was on the commission for 2 terms, which is the max you're allowed to do, 2-year terms. So Perkins was there from 2018 to 2022. He was chair for a little bit of that. Then he became the vice chair. And then he was just a regular dude on the commission. And then he's gone. Now, another person who was appointed to that commission was Rabbi Sharon Kleinbaum, who is a lesbian. She was appointed by Democrats in 2021. And some conservatives flipped out because lesbian.
Lesbian or Jewish?
Now, lesbian and Jewish.
But which one were they more mad about?
The drama in that situation was kind of muted because she's fine.
Yeah.
Like, there's no drama here. I don't know what you're mad about. The last time we had drama is last year when Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, nominated Representative Vicky Hartzler to the commission. She's a former House member, another Republican. But like when she was in Congress until from like 2011 to 2023, she was one of the most anti-LGBTQ people ever. Like, she became famous for opposing marriage equality long before Obergefell.
Wow.
She said gay marriage was like polygamy and incest.
Wow.
She said gay couples didn't deserve equal rights, just like it's not a right of a 3-year-old to drive a car. That's why gay people shouldn't be allowed to get married.
Oh, you say gay people shouldn't be allowed to get married. I think Republicans shouldn't be allowed to make comparisons because they do not understand how language works.
Yeah, she later said, "You guys are taking my she said you're misconstruing my comments. What I meant,
context.
What I meant to say was that it's like allowing a 13-year-old to drive a car. See, that's why it's bad. That's why you can't allow same-sex marriage. Anyway." That's Vicky Hartzler. When she was in Congress. Is that
better or worse than the man, marry, dog thing?
Oh, yeah, I know.
Which one's worse?
They've moved on from the man, marry, dog thing and moving more like, I just don't feel like it.
Yeah, it is kind of hard to...
She also said...
stand with that.
That was all before Congress. When she was in Congress, she argued against Don't Ask, Don't Tell getting repealed.
Oh, sure.
She also said gay soldiers should have to sleep separately from straight ones.
Can
the
you
trenches.
imagine how fun?
Yeah. By the way, it was so bad. Her bigotry was so extreme that her own nephew, Andrew, went viral years ago for calling her out on this.
I remember this.
Yeah. He actually made a video where he's saying, despite coming out to my aunt this past February, I guess she's still just as much as a homophobe. Anyway, all of this happened. That's who Mike Johnson nominated to be on the International Religious Freedom Group.
And when did that happen?
That was last year. Yeah. That was last year.
Out of the public spotlight for a minute.
I know. That's why he nominated her. It's not like she's being removed from Congress where he has a razor-thin majority.
Because she's been doing really important work in Congress.
And by the way,
he doesn't want to pull
she was appointed to that group, and then she was chosen to be the chair of the organization this past June.
This feels like the way they rotate the snack parent for soccer games.
Yeah. Like the fact that this is the representative of the USCIRF. I mean, it's hard to think of a worse spokesperson for the cause of religious freedom.
I can think of one, the last guy.
Than a Christian zealot who has worked her entire life to undermine religious freedom in the United States.
Well, and I think it's important to remember that the damage that these people are doing is not only just on queer people and all of those rights that they're constantly trying to violate, but also like, why do you think there's a huge AIDS epidemic ravaging through Africa? Do you think it's because a bunch of Christian missionaries went in there and then told them how bad condoms were and how bad gay people were, and then they don't have the power to prevent STDs because they don't have the knowledge to do it? Like the ripple effect of this bigotry is so wide and so pernicious that it's... Oh, I fucking hate these people.
Here's the update for you. Vicky Hartzler is still the chair of the USCIRF.
That wasn't a new story?
That wasn't a new story. Here's the update. Guess who just got nominated to that group?
Was it me?
It was you. Congrats.
Yay!
You're on the group now. No, Chuck Schumer, because he gets to decide at least a couple of these people, and he's the Democratic Senate Majority Leader, Senate Minority Leader, I should say, he nominated Rachel Laser, who's the president of Americans United for Separation of Church and State.
Rachel?
Right. Which is interesting because, like, the leaders of atheist groups never get nominated to these groups.
I've never heard of such a thing.
That's not an atheist group, but they also don't nominate anyone from our circles in general.
Never.
Right.
That's exciting.
Right. So they're nominating someone who actually works to preserve and protect religious freedom and church-state separation.
And is she president now?
Not at the moment, but who knows? Because, again, it's up to the group who they decide. But Chuck Schumer nominated her, and that means she's on the commission. We're not waiting for a vote on this. Like, she's just there.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, in the press release announcing that she's been appointed, Dottie's pissed off about it.
Dottie.
Vicky Hartzler said this.
Come here.
It is important to have as many people in the fight as possible to stand for all those around the world who are suffering violations of their religious freedom. I look forward to Rachel Laser working with us as we continue to be a voice for those who suffer at the hands of the worst religious freedom violators. Which is a wonderful...
The men on either side of me.
Which is a wonderful thing for some intern to write on Vicky Hartzler's behalf.
I bet that was a fun night.
That's the sort of comment that would be appalling to Vicky Hartzler, who was in Congress.
Yeah.
But yay, progress. I will say Americans United, they were thrilled about this. Obviously, they did not mention Vicky Hartzler in their press release, but that's fine. They don't have to.
No.
They're not trying to cause a fight here.
Right.
And leaders from other humanist groups, nationally and internationally, just said things like, Rachel is an outstanding choice for USCIRF and a proven leader in the fight for freedom of religion and belief for all. And this is from Nick Fish of American Atheists. We both need and deserve far more leaders who, like Rachel, prioritize pluralism and practice tolerance, and far fewer of those who would force their views on others and punish those who dissent, which is a lovely backhanded way to get after Hartzler. I am genuinely curious, and I did ask Rachel this, so how did Schumer get your name? Did you apply for this?
Are you guys
She
friends?
said no. She said she didn't ask to be nominated. And as far as I know, I don't know what's happening behind the scenes. I don't know who told Chuck Schumer you should nominate this person. Because even though AU is a national group and they do lobbying work on behalf of these causes, there are lots of groups that do that. And I don't know what was going on in Schumer's mind, but I'm glad it happened. She just said she was told she was nominated about this and she was happy to accept.
I bet it has to do... I mean, don't you think that they probably wanted to make as few ripples as possible?
So, and she is a non-controversial pick.
But not only is she non-controversial as far as we know, but I think the head of Americans United for the Separation of Church and State is maybe an easier pill to swallow than American Humanists or
and this is interesting.
American Atheists.
Rachel is Jewish, and all well and good.
Yeah.
It is interesting to me that as far as I can tell, none of these, I mean, I'm not expecting Republicans to do it. Neither party has ever nominated an open atheist or the leader of an atheist group, maybe for the reasons you just mentioned, to be part of a group for religious freedom, when you would think that's kind of our jam. Why not?
Yeah.
But you're right. This is I didn't see any headlines about this outside of our circles, which is fine.
I mean, I do.
But no one is worried about Rachel here.
I can speak to the fact that the A word is still a little bit scary for a lot of people.
Yeah.
In fact, my dad just came out to his friends as an agnostic, and apparently it caused quite the controversy. Also, he introduced me to his friend as a broadcaster and a free range writer, which I am adopting.
Wow. Nice.
He meant freelance, but honestly,
free range
writer fucking rules.
It's a job we can all strive for. In case anyone's wondering, there are now 7 commissioners on the USCIRF. There are 2 positions that have not been filled because Republicans don't care.
Sure.
And of those 7, 4 of them, including Rachel, are Democratic appointees. That doesn't really matter because it's a bipartisan group. It's not the Supreme Court.
But it's nice to know that.
But and my worry is are Republicans going to realize they could appoint people here, or are they going to turn it into some sort of culture war battle? Because that's what they do with everything.
Right.
But for now, as far as I can tell, even with Perkins, even with Hartzler, this group has stuck to its mission, which is good. But I'm really excited to see an actual champion of religious freedom on that board. By the way, I should say there are other Democrats or other people that Democrats have nominated who are absolutely champions of church-state separation. They just don't come from our circles. They might be the leader of a Jewish group. They might be the leader of a progressive Christian church. Fine. But from our circles, that sort of thing does not happen very often. So that's a very good thing.
I would say never. The most exciting thing...
We're 1 for a million now.
The most exciting thing that happens in the atheist community is one of us gets on Jeopardy and we're like, yeah, we did it. That was you.
That's not at all how that played out.
Everybody was so excited for you.
By the way,
it's not our fault your episode came out in April 2020, dog. I don't know what to tell you.
Come on, nothing else was happening around that time. By the way, if you stick around for the bonus episode, I will share some fun random news Not Jeopardy related, but
Wow.
still fun.
Wow,
There's
you
your teaser.
really drew our audience
It'll be
in.
fun.
Random fun news.
Okay, different story
I'm gonna
altogether.
talk about Hoover and fucking JFK's assassination. That's what I'm going to talk
I
about in
have
the bonus.
the answers in this envelope. Okay. Interesting statistical news that I found very interesting. Earlier this year, we talked about it when it happened. The Pew Research Center released their Religious Landscape Survey. It's one of the biggest looks at religion in the country. And the headlines everyone had from that reveal was that, for two decades now, there's been a sharp decline in Christian identity. What percentage of Americans identify as Christian? In 2007, it was 78%. But in recent years, it's dropped to like 60%. So that's a huge drop off. Where are they all going? Well, it's religiously unaffiliated, which has jumped from 16% of Americans in 2007 to like 30% a couple of years ago. So like we've seen a decline in Christianity, a rise in religiously unaffiliated people. But what that survey, this massive survey found is it looks like things are leveling off. Like Christianity is on a slight rise, and it has been for a couple of years since COVID. The religiously unaffiliated numbers are going down from like over 30% to like 29% and now 28%.
Well, that's interesting.
So does it mean like are we leveling off finally? Are we seeing like a plateau of sorts or what? And that was the big takeaway. All these people writing about that survey said it looks like the decline of religion is finally over and we're finally steady.
Yeah, that could be.
My speculation, this is what we talked about when we talked about it at the time, is I don't know if that's the whole story because younger people are still less religious than older ones, and older people are going to die first. And by the way,
as they're wont to do,
the only way Americans are going to become more religious as a whole is if all these groups, these generational blocks, are becoming religious as they get older.
And we don't see evidence of that.
I didn't see that. Are young people who are like more 40, 50% non-religious, are they somehow finding God? And now the arguments that we have seen over the past few months is, I've seen headlines. I tracked
the Christian nationalism of it all, right?
Yes, the Christian nationalism of it all. They are arguing Bible sales are booming these days.
Who's buying Bibles?
That was a headline from the Wall Street Journal last December. Sales of Bibles are booming, fueled by first-time buyers and new versions. But yeah.
Yo, the 2025
the Bible has
version
a new
of the Bible just dropped.
It's like the almanac. But like, okay, Bible sales are booming. That's one tick mark or something. Gen Z is maybe rebelling by getting religion is another headline in a right-wing article. Yeah. There was also the Charlie Kirk of it all. Maybe after his death, maybe people were suddenly more attracted to the stuff he preached.
Because they might get shot too? Why would that make it more attractive?
Because people are talking about the stuff he talked about, which was
that the Civil Rights Act was a mistake.
That too. You need to come closer to God to be a good person. That was his whole shtick. But they were saying,
then why didn't it work for him?
Why is this all happening? So they were wondering, like conservative outlets made it sound like there was going to be this religious revival or that it was underway. The data would not have shown it yet because it's happening now.
Right.
But the headlines and right-wing outlets said, we are in the midst of a revival. That pause you saw from the data, it's going the other way. Well, recently, the Pew Research Center put out a different headline that kind of confirms a lot of what I was saying because this is how data works. Basically, their statement is, we are not seeing signs of a religious revival by the numbers. There's no evidence of that. So here's what they wrote. What is happening with religion among young adults today? Some media reports have suggested there may be a religious revival taking place among young adults, especially young men in the U.S. But our recent polls, along with other high-quality surveys we have analyzed, show no clear evidence that this kind of nationwide religious resurgence is underway. And what are they basing that on? Basically two things. Younger people, according to everything they found, are less likely to identify with a religion. That's part one.
Okay.
if you ask people who are over 71 years old, what percentage of U.S. adults identify with a religion? People above 70, 83% of them say they identify with some religion. When you ask people who are under 30, it drops down to 57%. So every single generation is less religious than the one before it. That has not changed. What percentage of people pray daily? Among older Americans, 59%. Among younger ones, 32%. What percentage of Americans say religion is important in their lives? Among older Americans, 55% say religion is important.
Low.
It is. What percentage of under 30 Americans? 33%. And the only time there was any generational change, like every generation was less religious, there was one blip in that, which is what percentage of you attend religious services at least monthly? Among oldest Americans, 43%.
That's still so few.
Yep. And among youngest Americans, 31%. But actually, if you go ask people 31 to 40, it's at 29%, a little lower. So it's not a huge change. But younger people are not less religious when it comes to attending church service.
What do you think about the... Oh, okay, finish your thought.
The other thing, that was the generational thing. So every generation is still less religious than the one before. That means in the long term, as older generations die off, we are becoming less religious as a country.
Right.
The other side of that is, well, within generations, are they becoming less religious? And if you look at any of those things we just talked about, identify with a religion, pray daily, say religion is important in your life, go to church. Across generations, the numbers are basically steady. They are not changing. Younger Americans are less religious than the ones before. But even if you look at the country as a whole, it's just a flat line on all of those things. And if you look at within generational groups, it's also a flat line, but younger generations are just less on everything. So on all of that stuff, if you're looking to see a religious revival, stability over the past 5 years is bad news, especially because when you talk about Christian nationalism, the power that conservative Christians have, if they're not gaining converts with all of that, what do you think is going to happen when the political and social pushback against all of this shit that is happening right now occurs? What do you what happens when we see the resurgence of measles due to faith-based delusions about vaccinations? Yeah. People are going to start realizing, I don't want measles. Who is telling me not to get the shots? It's religious zealots who say I have a religious reason not to get vaccinated. Their bigotry and their ignorance is not going to age well. And I think when people look back at this time in our nation's history, religion's not going to be seen as part of the solution. Right?
Yeah. Also, here's another thing I'm thinking about is I've heard, and maybe this is hearsay or whatever, but I've heard, the old thing of you'll get more conservative as you get older.
Yeah.
I heard somebody say that's not actually true. It's just that conservative people tend to live longer than Democratic people because socioeconomic conditions and,
you're richer in general or something like that.
But I wonder now if these old rich white dudes aren't getting their shots and aren't believing in science and aren't doing whatever, is that going to change that it's all old hippies who age into their 90s and it's just conservative guys who did cocaine in the 80s die at 42.
Can't wait for a whole generation of 70-year-old socialists.
Oh my God, they're going to be obnoxious. I can't wait.
The thing is, if you want to see moral courage in America right now, you don't look at us. You don't look to a mega church. You go to where the protesters are. You look at political candidates who are willing to say bipartisanship is a stupid goal when you're working with one side that wants to destroy the country.
Right.
You don't look to the people trying to ban books and reject science and support a fascist, racist president.
Well, and it's also part of the tolerance paradox, right? Of you have to be tolerant of people's views. You have to be tolerant no matter what. And
the politics of civility.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sorry, I'm not as worried about being civilized as I am about black people not getting shot in the street.
Right.
That feels more important to me.
Right. So instead of a reversal, it seems like what we're seeing is more of a maturing where generational turnover for religious demographics, that's slow. It's predictable, right? It's going to happen, but it's not going to happen overnight. And that means over time, we are going to see lower levels of religious identification and practice and belief. So the 5 years, the fact that we're seeing like some steadiness, that feels like a temporary pause, but we're going to keep the graph will continue dipping for Christians. And I mean, that's the problem with conservative Christianity. If they can't gain new converts when they have this much power and legal courts on their side and all this cultural visibility, what are they going to do when the backlash comes for them? Like the conservative culture war bullshit eventually wears thin. They always find new things to be mad about, but like it annoys people.
Yeah.
All the stuff they did against gay people, guess what? It didn't work. Well, so now they're going against trans people.
It is wild how they always find a new minority to victimize, and
and they always will.
And they always will. And I'm curious what the next thing once people stop losing their fucking minds about trans people existing, like what is the next thing going to be? And I delight to think in what poor persecuted minority is going to be absolutely destroyed by the right. Can't wait to hear about it.
I'm going to jump to a different story. This one is disturbing, but I feel this one's important. It involves a legal case in Australia that does have a good ending, but it takes a while to get there. Oh boy. Basically, here's what happened. There is a young woman who is anonymous in all the court documents. She was raised in a family that joined a Jehovah's Witness congregation when she was about 5 years old. And Jehovah's Witnesses are very patriarchal. Everyone's got to be obedient to the father. And this girl and her siblings, they did that. They attended Kingdom Hall meetings multiple times a week. They avoided anyone who wasn't part of their religious community. They never read anything besides Jehovah's Witness literature.
I bet that's such a boring life.
And then her father became like a lay leader in their congregation, which gives him even more power. And then according to this girl, the physical abuse started. And I'm going to read some of this because it's disturbing, but here you go. She said that whenever she broke the rules, she was, quote, belted, slapped, hit, punched, or had her hair pulled.
Jeez.
Her body would be left bruised. This went on until she was 17 years old. And then her father began sexually assaulting her, specifically over a 2-week period when the rest of the family was out of town. And I'm going to read this again. It's very graphic and very disturbing. You should skip ahead about a minute or two if you need to. Okay. But this is what it said in the court documents. The father told her to, quote, wax the pubic hair on the shaft of his penis.
Ew.
She refused.
Ew. What?
She refused. He climbed into her bed at night and sexually assaulted her. And when she told him to stop, he told her she needed to, quote, be obedient to your father.
Gross.
He made her watch pornographic material with him, then gave her a drink with what sounds like a sedative. The assaults continued after that. He watched her take a shower. He offered her $300 if she would bend over the bed. She refused. And then he forced her to do it, but she managed to run away and run to a neighbor's house. And when the rest of the family finally returned home, this father began tracking her movements, became overbearing, telling other people his daughter is rebellious and a troublemaker and someone who served the devil.
Wow, that's so unusual for religious leaders to weaponize religion against women who are not doing their sexual bidding, including their own fucking daughters.
To be clear, this is all just what the dad's doing. No one else knows about this, but this is what she said.
Well, now the neighbor knows.
Now the neighbor knows. But at this point, again, she's about 17 at this point. She reported his behavior to the Jehovah's Witness elders in her congregation, hoping they could put a stop to it. As the dad apparently found out that she had told them about all this, and he turned on her, yelling things like, quote, what have you been saying to the elders behind my back? He then, quote, slapped her across the face so hard that her head and body hit the brick wall behind her.
Whoa.
And at this point, she runs away from home, begins living with the neighbors. And this is like 1989 when all this happened.
This poor sweet girl.
So at this point, the Jehovah's Witness elders, they held a, quote, judicial committee hearing. Like this is their in-house.
They all got to dress up in their little robes and have their little ceremony.
And they directly asked the father if any of this is true. He lashes out. By the way, she has to be there for this.
Cool.
He lashes out against his daughter in the presence of these other elders and says something to the effect of, just wait until I get out of the room. And the elders tell him to
his daughter?
Yeah. They tell him to stand down. Like, dude, calm down here.
Yeah.
And the father just says to the elders, she seduced me.
Oh, no!
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me?
It's crazy, right? So now at this point...
And what did they say? Wait, that's not the end of the story. And they were like, oh, yeah, you're right. We'll jail her?
No, I mean, they're hearing all this because they got to weigh in on, well, what do we do about all this?
Call the police is what you do about this.
You do all this.
A man is sexually assaulting his own daughter and physically abusing her. He needs to go to jail.
But they don't handle things that way. You handle these things in the house, they said.
It's insane to me how people can lose the plot so hard that they think their dignity and comfort is more important than somebody's safety.
So they have a second judicial committee hearing, and this time the father is directly confronted about what he did.
They wore wigs.
Yeah, and this time he admitted, yes, I stepped out of line, and yet the elders did not believe her story.
What?
They told her not to go to the police.
What?
They told her, if you do that, we might kick you out. We'll disfellowship you. We will shun you.
Ooh, that's illegal, actually. Your religion cannot practice that way. You cannot practice shunning anymore, I don't think.
Oh, you very much can.
Are you sure? I think there's a whole thing about you can't... Okay.
You can do whatever you want in a religion. Fair. But if you are disfellowshipped, you are cut off from your family and your religious community forever. And if that's the bubble you've been living in your entire life, you have no one to turn to. They also would not allow her to speak to them, the elders, without her father present. Ugh. And she even said her father threatened to kill her if she spoke to them alone.
I just typed, is it illegal? And the second thing was, is it illegal to talk to dolphins?
Yeah,
what
that makes sense. You're the animal person. So none of this made a difference. Her father was allowed back into the congregation as if nothing had happened. Now, here's the thing. All of that was 1989. In the year 2000, this woman reports all of this to the Queensland Police Service. And she tells them, this is what happened to me when I was growing up. Now, can they do anything about it? Maybe it's too late. But she goes to the police about this. She has now broken free of the bubble.
Yeah.
Right? And by the way, in 2013, in Australia, they had a royal commission, the highest level of government interrogation on this stuff. And they were looking into institutional responses to child sexual abuse. And specifically, this commission found that 7% of Catholic priests in the country between 1950 and 2010 were accused of sexually abusing children.
I'm sorry. I thought you were going to... I thought you were going to say 7% were aware of abuse going on.
Nope.
7% committed.
Accused of sexually abusing kids.
What's that? Almost 1 in 20?
Oh no, it's less than that.
You're the math guy.
Yeah, 7% is a lot. Anyway, the same commission found serious problems with the Anglican Church. Regarding the Jehovah's Witnesses, the commission found that it was a group that does not respond adequately to child sexual abuse. But the point is, when they were doing their research to put together this report, which was a big deal when it came out, she spoke to them too, telling them this is what happened to me in a Jehovah's Witness situation. And oh my God, the courage to speak not just to the police in 2000, but to the Royal Commission in 2013 about all of this.
Did they give her a hug for being so brave?
I'm sure they did.
A consensual hug.
If there's any good news in this horrible, horrible story, it's that in 2004, she went to the police about this. Can you do anything? They did take action, and her father was convicted of his crimes in 2004, specifically 5 counts of unlawful and indecent assault, another count of attempted rape.
Oh.
And he spent 3 years in prison for what he did. Now, that's something.
That's a consequence.
Doesn't wipe away the damage he caused. This woman continued to suffer. And this is from a court document later, they detailed the impact he had on the rest of her life. The plaintiff reported feeling worthless and defeated to this day. She says that she is treated as an outcast by her family. She reported suffering from nightmares and struggling with ongoing anxiety. She rarely forms new friendships and generally has difficulty trusting people. She finds it difficult to love and accept herself. She says that she feels dirty and spends a lot of time bathing and scrubbing herself in an effort to feel clean. She says it has, I'm paraphrasing now, it has impacted every sexual experience she has had.
Of course.
Since the assault. She opted to have a bilateral mastectomy, in part out of a hope that removing both breasts would help rid her of the memory of the defendant's abuse.
Oh, honey.
All right. So all of this has happened since. And the thing is, this woman now, she's 52.
Oh.
She actually got her law degree in 2017 and joined the Queensland Police Service a year after that to work as a lawyer for the police department. But because she suffered PTSD, she was really unable to stay in that job. That's a different story. But she also said she got married at 18 to someone within the bubble, the Jehovah's Witness bubble. That guy turned out to be, surprise, also psychologically controlling, demeaning, demoralizing, and objectifying. And when she wanted to get a divorce, the Jehovah's Witnesses wouldn't allow it. She left him anyway. Now, why am I telling you all of this? Because she filed a lawsuit seeking compensation for everything she suffered.
Yes.
And this went in front of the Australian version of the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Sorry, I should correct myself.
Okay.
The New South Wales Supreme Court in Australia. Different area she lives in now. But basically, she went to court to get compensation for like all the abuse she suffered. And her father, I will say, represented himself in court.
Oh, do you know what they say about people who represent themselves in court?
What do they say?
They have a fool for a client.
There you go. And he turns out he's not very good at representing himself.
If you're following the same footsteps of Ted Bundy, then I think you are on the wrong track.
Now, one of the things he said when he was cross-examined by the dad, what he said when he was cross-examined, he said, "Excuse me, according to her account, she said I was circumcised. I am not. I am uncircumcised. Therefore, she is an unreliable witness. You can't trust anything she says."
Did he pull out his dick in court?
I'm sure he tried. But basically, he
Also,
suggested, yeah, that's a thing that actually happened.
Also,
he
if it's
said,
the first time she'd ever seen a penis, maybe she doesn't know what she's looking at.
that is very much what her side's defense was.
Yeah.
Also, he suggested that he never physically abused her. He only smacked her on the bottom, and that was with a wooden spoon. And it's like...
That's what abuse, though, is.
That is abuse. He also
Hitting somebody
insisted
sucks.
that what his daughter was saying was a gross exaggeration at best and filled with
best.
outright lies. He admitted to using his hands on her sexually, but only because, at her request,
No.
he was trying to teach her how to track her vaginal mucus so she could assess a natural method for birth control.
No.
And he admitted
Why is he worried about his 17-year-old's daughter's birth control? Because he doesn't want to have a daughter-granddaughter?
He admitted it was poor judgment on my part.
Can we go back to
Anyway, I'm still
waxing
going.
his dick?
Nope. So the only question here, like the judge didn't buy any of this shit.
Oh, really?
You will not believe. He basically said, no, I accept the daughter's evidence in its entirety.
Good.
The only question is how much money is she entitled to from her father?
$1 billion.
She asked for $300,000 in damages. And the judge agreed to that, but also there are aggravated damages, which are more intangible. And this is where, like
the fact that she felt like she had to get a double mastectomy to feel at home in her own body again. Christ,
and
that's more than $300.
When they're weighing all of this, what impacts how much money this woman deserves? What the court said is, well, the first and most important issue is that the plaintiff was raised in a, quote, cult-like environment, which no doubt affects her. Second, she was involved in several abusive relationships because of that upbringing, which affects her ability to earn money. Third, she's a single mother with significant childbearing responsibilities. Fourth, she suffered from PTSD because of the abuse. Fifth, she had to move to the USA by choice to get away from this shit.
Whoa.
And she also has to, she can't work as a lawyer because she has to adjust and that's hard to do. And all that. Anyway,
they took her life from her.
After taking all of this into consideration, the judge said, and he listed it like line by line, I'm awarding this much because of your economic loss. And it came out to basically $1.5 million.
Yes, there you go.
And while the Jehovah's Witnesses won't pay any of that, it's really her father's job to pay that. It just reveals how the Jehovah's Witnesses, they could have taken action against the father. They chose not to.
I have multiple questions.
They told this woman not to go to the police. They prolonged how much time it took before she got justice. And all of this happened. And now former Jehovah's Witnesses are trying to elevate this case to the public attention just to show like how problematic the religion is because it protects abusers.
Yeah.
And what they're asking for, the advocates against the Jehovah's Witnesses, is they're saying, look, the church is not on the hook for this 1.5 million or anything because they're not implicated in this court decision, which was by the woman against her father.
I'm surprised she didn't sue the church.
I don't know why. I don't know what the reason is, but they are advocating.
She's not going to get $1.5 million from her deadbeat dad.
I mean, it would be hard to say the church was wrong because it acted by the bylaws of the church.
Well, yeah, that means the bylaws are endangering children.
But usually courts can't go after how a church operates.
No, but I'm saying that. Well, not how it operates. The fact that it's sheltering abusers, that's not how it operates.
I mean, that's what Catholics do with confession, and courts stay away from that here too. So what the advocates are hoping for is they're like, we want Australia to remove the Jehovah's Witnesses as an official charity, which is basically like, let's revoke their tax exemption. Because right now they have it and they shouldn't because it's a criminal enterprise, more or less.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're going to go that far, but that's what they're asking for. But the bottom line is what this court case reveals is that the elders of the Jehovah's Witnesses, this isn't one bad dude who did horrible things. The elders were not confused about this or unaware. Like, they witnessed threatening behavior firsthand.
The Jehovah's witnessed it?
Yeah. They heard an admission from the father. I stepped out of line. They still didn't want him to take the fall for this.
Honestly,
they discouraged police involvement. They threatened to shun the woman. They indirectly promoted the abuse.
That's what I'm saying. Why would, how can you think that they don't have standing to sue the church?
Historically, you're not going to get away with suing a church for being a church.
What I think is interesting and truly such a big tell is to see him lose control the way he did in front of strangers.
And the elders still didn't take serious action.
To me, that's the scariest part of like, if you can't even keep it together for a 2-hour whatever thing, like, you're obviously dangerous. Anything he's doing in front of all of these elders is going to be tenfold when he gets at home.
Right.
These fucking people. This is why I'm telling you. And people still message me about this, about like, oh, Jessica has to stop hating on men. Men protect men. They do it. They do it constantly and consistently. And go through history, men are protecting men every fucking time. And you can tell me it's businesses are protecting businesses or what the fuck ever. Tell me who's running these businesses. These are men protecting men every fucking step of the way. They threatened to excommunicate a 17-year-old rape victim who's being sexually assaulted by her father. These are men protecting men. They do not believe that women are full human beings and we are just sort of objects to them. We are the NPCs of their special man life. And it's fucking disgusting. And especially the rhetoric of, oh, we protect women. Oh, we got to protect women. And a woman comes forward and is like, hey, I've been abused by a man. Like, oh, you slut, you whore. Like, these are not men who give a shit about women and do not see us as full ass human beings. And that's what I have to say. And I will do that lecture every episode until the heat death of the universe, until it stops being true.
I got 2 more quick ones for you. I'm going to jump to Ohio. The Ohio House is considering a bill that, not surprisingly, will get the 10 Commandments in public schools.
So, Ohio? Well, that's a new state for this.
Surprising. But the thing is, and it just passed through the Republican-led state Senate. It's now in the House for consideration. But the bill itself, it tries to get around all the reasons the 10 Commandments bills have failed in other states right now because they're caught up in the legal system. So they say...
What are they trying now?
This one is not saying put up the 10 Commandments. It says... it's called the Enact the Historical Educational Displays Act. And it says, here's a list of like 9 documents. You schools, you have to select at least 4 of these to post in every history or social studies classroom for grades 4 through 8. Here's the list. Are you ready?
Yeah.
The Mayflower Compact, the Declaration of Independence,
Great.
The Northwest Ordinance, the mottos of the United States and Ohio, the 10 Commandments,
Yep.
Right in the middle there. The Magna Carta, the Bill of Rights, the U.S. Constitution, the Articles of Confederation. So they just kind of stuck the Ten Commandments in the middle of that list, even though it's not a founding document in any sense of the word.
These people are so laser focused on the truly least important shit I could ever imagine.
So they're like, you have to put up 4 of these, but we didn't tell you which 4. So if you decide to put up the Ten Commandments, I mean, we're not telling you to, so we're avoiding the reason all those other bills got shut down.
Who is this for? Like, cui bono? Like, who is benefiting out of all this dumb bullshit?
Also,
so they can like stump speech on like, oh, I made kids pray.
Yeah, this is sponsored by State Senator Terry Johnson, and he says there is a caveat that any poster has to include a disclaimer explaining the subject's historical importance that serves an educational purpose.
I love my artwork to come with disclaimers.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He gave away the game after he introduced this bill because... First of all, he says the posters don't have to be larger than like an 8.5 by 11 inch piece of paper. How are you going to get the Constitution on a piece of paper that size unless the font is so tiny that you can't read a single damn bit of it, which is the point because he's not expecting anyone to read this.
Does the Constitution in its entirety need to be on our walls? Is that something that's really important to us?
If you're a Republican, yes, that's all that's important to us. And he also said, well, more sizable documents, such as the Constitution, may require more formatting as long as it remains reasonably visible.
This is the 10 commandments all over again.
Formatting is the problem. He also knows no student's going to read the Constitution because he doesn't care. It's about promoting Christianity. And the reason I know this is because hidden in the bill is another section that says school boards must accept donated funds or displays as long as there are no strings attached.
Every time you bring up that sort of piece, it feels like I have taken crazy pills. Yeah. Like, what an insane thing to say. Like, if anybody donates something to your school, you legally have to put it
as long
up.
as it fits this bill's parameters.
What an insane thing to want to do. Like, am I supposed to just drive over to like Hinsdale South High School and give them flyers for the Friendly Atheist podcast and be like, y'all legally have to put this up now? And it's just my fucking face staring back at you.
If the bill says, if you're fitting the parameters of this bill, yes. But that means, hypothetically, if a church or some one wealthy conservative crazy person says, well, I'm just going to make 10 Commandment posters for everybody and donates them to every school district, every classroom in the state, they would be legally obligated to put it up.
That's an insane, like, how is that small government?
It's Republican small government.
It's literally just the richest, what's it when rich people, is oligarchy the one when it's rich people that run everything?
Yes.
Is that it?
Sure.
I'll look it up.
You'll look it up.
Damn it.
But when the ACLU of Ohio testified against this bill, like, they made very clear this is just about Christian indoctrination.
No, oligarchy is just a small group of people having control.
Which
oligarchy,
one is all?
But religion.
There you go. The
Theocracy. God damn it.
What was it?
Theocracy.
Oh, religion, not rich people.
Oh, yeah.
What are you looking up?
I forgot what I was doing for a second.
All right.
But rich
what
people.
The ACLU said is if you pass this bill, it's going to result in 10 Commandments displays in all classrooms.
Plutocracy.
There you go. In all classrooms, in all schools, in some school districts. Other schools will surely opt for 10 Commandments monuments on school grounds because that would be allowed under this as well if someone donates a monument.
Hold on. How did we get from posters to monuments?
You can do both. You can put up monuments to the 10 Commandments and the Bill of Rights.
I dream of the day that I have so much money that the thing I choose to spend it on is a dumb, ugly statue for a school I don't go to.
Right.
So much money. So much money they have. Give me some of that money. Patreon.com/Friendly Atheist
By the way, the
podcast.
state Senate, when they were considering this bill in the state Senate, there was an amendment proposed that would just remove the 10 Commandments from that list of documents.
Nice.
And of course, Republicans on a party line vote shot that amendment down.
What? Why?
So anyway, it's in the state House.
It's not like that's the only thing they actually want to happen.
Yeah, it's in the state House. We'll see if Republicans decide to go through with it. They probably will.
Just put yourself in a position where somebody making a speech at you is like, I spent my valuable time and resources to make sure students have to have a piece of paper up in the room that they will, I want to be clear, never look at.
Correct.
And that's how I've spent my time. And everyone's like, yeah,
I'm a billionaire. That's how I'm making the world a better place, right? I got one last one for you. This is quick. In Arizona, a Republican has filed a bill, and I thought I had to look at the date on this article because I thought it was from 20 years ago.
Some deja vu.
Yeah. But nope, it was just filed last week. State Senator David Farnsworth has filed a bill, Senate Bill 1025, which is very short. It's one line, but here's what it says. Notwithstanding any other law, a public school may provide instruction in evolution by natural selection only if the school provides concurrent instruction in intelligent design.
Are you sure this isn't 20 years old? Are you sure this isn't 80 years old? Is this Inherit the Wind?
This bill would say you're not allowed to teach kids about evolution unless you teach them about intelligent design as well.
It's Inherit the Wind.
And by the way, they even asked him, like, by intelligent design, you just mean creationism, right? He said, if it were up to me, I would just call it creationism.
But these PC woke assholes won't let me.
And don't worry, he defended his bill. He said,
hit me.
If we're going to teach that man came from monkeys, I think we ought to give a choice.
I mean, I'm less concerned about the ages of rocks than I am the rock of ages. Like, this is such garbage, cuckoo bananas nonsense.
Evolution does not teach that man came from monkeys. And also, I do enjoy that he's like, you know what I care about? Choice. Which, brave. Republicans, glad you're catching up to the rest of us.
What dickbags.
So when a reporter named Howard Fisher of Capital Media Services, he asked Farnsworth, so what evidence is there for intelligent design?
Yeah, hit me with that.
Here's the response from Farnsworth. I don't need to prove that to you. To me, it's what I know in my heart is true, besides all the biblical references. And what about those who don't see it that way? I honestly think that people who don't think that we were created by God are not very intelligent individuals themselves. I believe the best evidence is
the Bible.
If we pray and ask God what the truth is, along with our diligent study.
So this is how...
So it's all about what's in your heart.
This is how these
science
monsters
works.
Are so fucking confident because they've been taught from a very young age that, like, basically any thought you have is God talking to you. Mm-hmm. And, like, whether that's, my house is untidy and I should tidy it up, not that's based in reality or my situation right now, versus, this man who's walking behind me down the street is actually an agent trying to kill me, so I'm going to stab him first. Like, those are both things God might have told you.
By the way, there was only one Democrat mentioned in that article. It was State Senator Mitzi Epstein. And this is what she said in response to this guy and his stupid bill. I think that understanding the scientific method is something that maybe we should request lawmakers to learn before they write bills. Which is very tame, but good for you.
What do you think of the idea of making like a test to get into... no, that's stupid.
Nope.
Slippery
Now
slope.
You're
Bad. Sorry,
idea.
forget it.
Now,
Forget it.
I will say the good news here is I can tell you this bill is dead on arrival because Republicans do have...
Because it's one line?
Yeah, that too. No, Republicans have narrow majorities in both legislative chambers.
In Arizona?
Yeah. Huh. But the governor is Democrat, Katie Hobbs. There's no way in hell she's on board with this. Legally speaking, this also violates all the laws. Creationism has been a non-starter since 1987 when the Supreme Court knocked it down. Intelligent design was knocked down by a court in 2005. Yeah, and all the euphemisms like teach the holes in evolution, teach the strengths and weaknesses of evolution.
I've never heard teach the holes.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard teach the controversy.
They've gone nowhere for the same reason because they're like, so creationism, that's what you're doing,
You're just
right?
trying to do creationism
like, you can't shove Christian mythology into a science class no matter how you try to dress it up and pretend it's not religious mythology. And by the way, Farnsworth did not care about that either. He's like, I'm not an attorney and I'm not even going to try. By which I think he was referring to, I'm not even going to try to defend my bill against legal challenges. But he said such court rulings against creationism and stuff, such court rulings are based on the flawed premise that there's supposed to be a separation between church and state.
Oh, boy. It always comes back down to that one, eh?
By the way, I was looking up this guy because I'm like, I don't remember this dude popping up in Arizona. So what's he been known for?
Yeah.
His biography says he's a Mormon who has 32 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren.
That's too many.
That is a lot.
That's too many progeny for
and
one person.
What else is he working on now that he has power in Arizona?
Child brides.
He co-sponsored a bill this term to rename a section of road the Charlie Kirk Highway.
That's
what he's doing with his time.
I hated listening to that.
Yep.
I hated that you made me hear that.
Yep.
Charlie Kirk driveway.
Yep.
Driveway.
So anyway.
Roadway,
highway, whatever. So if this bill ever got anywhere, which it won't, it will be challenged. And it's not even like with the 10 Commandments one we just talked about, they're trying to work around what all the judges have said in the past and recently. And this guy's like, no, I'm just going back to the thing that was illegal like 40 years ago.
Yeah, well, like, don't.
I'm not even trying. By the way, they asked him, like, where did this even come from? Why are you doing this now? And I think he said in an article, a constituent asked me to do it, so I'm doing it. It's like, maybe you don't have to do everything your worst constituents want.
I yelled at Bruce Rauner once, and he didn't do anything about it.
Right.
I told him to go fuck himself, and he didn't even do it. Can you believe it?
There you go.
I was his constituent at the time.
This guy gets elected.
Have I told you that story? I accidentally shook his hand at the first Aurora Pride Parade.
Did you lose a bet?
No, Mikey and I had just gotten there with like a little group of our friends, and like we had like literally just stood up at the barrier, and like this old skinny white dude comes down and is glad handing people, and I was just like, oh, what? And then I realized who it was, and I was like, go fuck yourself, Router.
And
I didn't actually yell that at
elected.
him. There were children there, but I did send him some really mean thoughts.
There you go.
Do you have a memory of like somebody speaking up in a science class, like an anti-evolution thing, or a teacher saying anything like that?
No.
That's
we were pretty good they were good about teaching that stuff in Illinois.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
No one in my class that I remember tried to fight that.
Yeah.
That was about it. I don't remember any controversy in my neck of the woods about that.
I was in AP Bio in freshman year, which was a huge mistake. I was not very good at it. But I really thought I was smart. I remember when we got to evolution, my teacher, Miss Darrow, she did this little talk of like, I understand that this may be like controversial to some people, but this is what the science says, and this is what I'll be teaching. Something very like, I think if I hadn't continued to do this kind of work, I would have forgotten about it.
Yeah.
But it was also like, I also had a pretty sheltered in a different way, a sheltered upbringing, because I just didn't know that people didn't believe in evolution for a really long time. Like the same way I would go to Catholic Mass and I was like, none of us think this is real, right? Like we're all just, it's like going to see a play, right? Like we're all here and we're going to sing and he's going to say some nice things, but we don't believe this, right?
Then you realize some of them do.
Well, and then I moved to Indiana and I met the people who live there. Anyway,
we'll stop there for now.
It?
There are more stories, but I'll get to them next week, I'm sure. In the bonus episode, we will talk about, I saw the new Knives Out.
Oh, I did too. That's the first time we've both seen it. I know.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some other stuff. Please go to patreon.com/friendlyatheistpodcast. And please,
you can
get ad-free and bonus episodes.
Yep. You can always email us at friendlyatheistpodcast@gmail.com. We read everything. We haven't responds to most of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And leave your reviews. What do we get?
This is a really nice one. It's rather long, so just strap in. It's really wonderful.
You get 2 sentences.
Okay, go absolutely fuck yourself. This is too nice for you to bully me. This is from Cecilia's Heart, which is cute. Deconstructing my faith has been my whole life, not just something I just went through. Growing up in the system and surviving abuse in multiple churches left scars I'm still working through. I found Jessica and Hemmett during one of the roughest parts of that journey. And honestly, their podcast became a lifeline. It's more than just talk. It's a safe space. I used to email Hemmett about every child abuse scandal I stumbled on, and he responded to every single email. See?
I do.
See, I just said he did. I don't even know how he did it because I was annoyed with me half the time. He's got big brother energy, protective, smart, and fair. He insists on investigating both sides first, checking sources, and then forming a logical position. My trauma wants me to go straight on the attack, but he's helped me slow down, see both sides, and actually think before reacting. That steadiness has meant more than I can say. And Jessica, she's my favorite. My daughter's favorite, too. She's like the best friend or older sister you always wished you had in your corner. I'll take that. I'm more sisterly than you are brotherly. Warm, funny, smart, compassionate. She makes survivors feel seen without having to explain ourselves. We're a special needs family, and knowing that Jessica is a teacher, an atheist, and an advocate is such a comfort. She sees the world in ways that make people...
Yes.
I'm making myself cry. She sees the world in ways that make people like us feel less invisible. If you're deconstructing, healing, or a survivor of abuse, Friendly Atheist isn't just a podcast. It's a community, a safe space. Friendly Atheist is the kind of presence I wish I'd had growing up, and now I'm so grateful I do.
That's very nice. Thank you.
I had not read that whole thing before I started it. That was incredibly thoughtful. We've got the garbage year in review coming up. I got to make time to meet with Kate McDonald because we do this every year. I'm so delighted. People get stoked about this. This was just a thing I did because the year 2016 was so bad that I felt like Hammett and I needed to sit down and talk through it. And now,
and what happened all year long? Yep.
Anyway,
all right.
So we're talking about Knives Out. I finished Veep, and I'm reading about Hoover and the JFK assassination, which I really want to talk about.
All right.
Okay, we will talk to you guys next week. Love you.